Hi friends. This is my improbable journey into historical fiction. My name is Russell Cameron Thomas, and let's go on an adventure. July 4th, 2025, a beautiful day here at the UC Berkeley campus. But America's in distress. I've got the flag of distress flying on my bicycle. My improbable journey into historical fiction. Almost nothing in my resume suggests that I would become a successful novelist. Most career counselors and experts would bet against me if all they had was my resume, but I wouldn't blame them. They'd see technical degrees and a lot of work experience in the computer industry, but I don't have a liberal arts degree, no Master of Fine Arts, didn't major or minor in literature, English, creative writing. I haven't participated in any writers' workshops. I haven't won any fiction prizes. I haven't even entered a fiction prize. I haven't been writing fiction since I was a teenager. Even more glaring, I haven't read many novels, especially compared to other novelists or people working in the publishing industry. Possibly only resume factors working in my favor are, I've been an avid reader of nonfiction all my life and have a large library. I'm a skilled writer in business and technical and academic audiences. My mother was a high school librarian and English teacher, and my father was a historian, among other careers. Luckily for me and for you, resumes don't write novels, people do. I have stepped boldly, bravely, and definitively into a journey of becoming a novelist in historical fiction. And I don't think I'm crazy. Here's my story. I'm 67 years old, white, well-educated, and used to work in the computer field. I'm also a parent, a creative guy, and I've reinvented myself quite a few times, 9 to be exact. Some of these might be labeled pivots, while others were more radical, starting from scratch with a new identity. So this wasn't new territory for me a few years ago when I started thinking, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I knew it wouldn't be a continuation of what I already done. And I knew it wasn't going to be nothing or just travel. My father was a great role model in this. He created a retirement for himself and unrelated to his previous work. It kept him active and excited and contributing to society. The COVID pandemic had huge effects on us, like many families. Our situation was comparatively good, and I moved across the country to take care of him. My father had 5 good months, living to just past 92 years old. He died suddenly of a stroke. At least he got to see Biden get elected. His death left a big void in my life on many levels, including daily routine. What I went through in the next following months wasn't exactly grieving. It was floating in an emotional and philosophical netherworld. Luckily, I didn't have to make any big changes. The pandemic was still raging and I was working remotely. I had a few activities to keep me stimulated, including music production and genealogy research. My dad had spent about a decade building doing online genealogy research to build out our family tree, both on his side and my mother's side. It was mostly wide rather than deep. It took me a long time to get interested in it, but eventually I started doing my own research, tracing back to the old country, one line on my mother's side and one line on my father's side. Turns out the Thomas line was Welsh. We had no other ancestors who were Welsh. My dad found another genealogy report that traced the Thomas family from Kentucky back to western Pennsylvania, to the frontier of Virginia, and then back to South Wales. Later on, we found out the link in Kentucky was iffy, so I decided to research that line. I'll spare you the details, but I'll just draw the shortest path to the juicy bits of the story. There was a Lewis Thomas that emigrated from South Wales to Virginia sometime in 1720s or 30s. His father, believe it or not, was named Thomas Thomas, and he was a rector of a church in the Church of England. His father was David Thomas, also a clerk in Holy Orders of the Church of England. 1670, David Thomas became rector at a small old church called St. Michael's in the estate of Place Lan Michael, located in the south of Cowbridge in Glamorgan, South Wales. The estate was owned by Sir Robert Thomas, and that David Thomas, the rector, was a distant cousin of Sir Robert Thomas. It didn't take much research to find a large volume of information about Sir Robert Thomas, Baronet. Genealogy research, it really helps to have a famous, rich, or noble ancestor, because famous means more data. During the Restoration period, 1660 to 1690, Sir Robert Thomas was among the wealthiest of the gentry families in South Wales, in Glamorgan. In fact, he was in the top 3. Now, wealthy in Wales is not considered wealthy in England, but he was still upper class. He was a member of Parliament from 1660 to 1684. So he made a splash in London as well. His father-in-law, and grandparents were all solid, prosperous people in Wales. By contrast, our Sir Robert Thomas was a bit of a rogue, a showboat, and a not very smart guy in business or politics. Here's what some hometown wit wrote about him in 1684. Sir Robert the ass I will not let pass, but give the devil his due, he never was good to his next of blood, or to his wife, nor king never true. The last 3 lines refer to, number 1, a family scandal where his own father tried to have him censured in Parliament for frauds and mistreatment against him. His extreme politics, jumping to the Whig Party against the court in the exclusion crisis. He also became a big promoter in the scandalous fabricated popish plot. And the third is the scandal around his second family in London. What's this? A second family in London? A few Google searches later, and I found several broadsheets and pamphlets and court records related to the murder of the son of Sir Robert Thomas in February 1685. I'm not sure if the second family is legitimate or not, but we'll skip over that for now. So here I am doing genealogy research. I find a murder that's well publicized in London. Oh my God. There were many details about the murder and the trial, but my investigation got really interested when I asked myself, who was so motivated to write and pay for a fancy pamphlet called Mistaken Justice about the whole trial and conviction? The pamphlet included statements by many people, including some important people in the Church of England. The author went to great pains even before writing. And the only clue to the author were the initials J.H. Another odd fact, the pamphlet was printed well after the murder and after the trial and after the execution. I inferred Mr. J.H. was not a smart businessman if he hoped to cash in on the public interest in the trial or the execution. He had other motivations. Took a couple of weeks of guessing and researching before I pinned down the likely identity of Mr. J.H. He is John Herbert, Esquire, Justice of the Peace in Middlesex, and a Fellow in the Royal Society. His motive? To rally support for judicial reform and fight corruption. What's a Fellow of the Royal Society involved in this case? Holy cow, that means Herbert was hobnobbing with men like Isaac Newton and John Locke, Sir Edmund Halley, Sir Christopher Wren, Dr. Robert Hooke, Sir Hans Sloane, just to name a few. Turns out he was rather important in the Royal Society too. He was a member of the executive body since 1685, and in 1702 he was elected vice president, where he served until his death. That means he served 5 years under Sir Isaac Newton, who became president in 1703. But there isn't much of a historical record related to John Herbert. He's not famous like the others. And then it hit me. I may be the first person in the world to link John Herbert to this publication and this trial. From there, I fanned out my research. I kept discovering amazing people, either connected to the Thomas family, to the murder or the trial, or one hop away. So here's the thing. These trails led to several pots of gold, including the first woman actress on the English stage, the new lotteries that are taking London by storm, the founding of the Bank of England, to a weird national hysteria, I already mentioned, called the Popish Plot, and more. Then I started investigating the social changes and the innovations that were happening at the time, or at least the seeds were being planted. Did you know that Lloyd's Coffee House was started in this period? Became a gathering place for people interested in marine insurance. It grew up into Lloyd's of London, the largest insurance market in the world. Did you know the gin craze of the 1720s got its start in the 1690s? Did you know Daniel Defoe was just starting his writing career after dabbling in finance and bankruptcy? He later became famous and almost rich with the first mass market novels, Robinson Crusoe, Moll Flanders, and A True-Born Englishman. It turns out Defoe was tightly connected with some of the promoters of the first big lottery, and he was also involved in designing and promoting an innovative secondary school for boys and girls to compete with the universities and also the apprentice system. The more I searched, the more connections I found. The other positive factor was information and data sources. In the 1690s, there was an explosion of print and publications, including broadsheets, pamphlets, books, and also official records. Combining these sources of information with genealogy research from Ancestry and Find My Past and Family Search, it became possible to do primary research with mostly online resources and find all the people, all the connections, and all the key events. Well, at least nearly all. As you can tell, I get very excited about all this. And that's when it hit me. My creative vision. Here it is. What if I could create something, a book, a video, a game, a movie, that gave other people the same excitement I'm feeling now as I'm doing this research? I knew immediately it had to go beyond fact-based nonfiction. I gravitated toward the traditional novel form and historical fiction genre. I'm thinking about other media products and spin-offs, but for now I'm going to start with a fiction novel. From there, I mainly worked on the structure and form to make it feasible as an author and a good experience for the readers. From the start, I knew I was committed to a hardcore history approach. With a few rare exceptions, there's no deviation from recorded history. Real people with real names and real biographies, real events and real timing. The fiction picks up where the history leaves off. I wasn't worried about writing style or drama skills. I knew some basics and I could learn more. My intuitions are good about pacing and emotional impact, thanks somewhat to my experience with music production. This isn't going to be a vanity project or a hobby, but I didn't need to rely on it for my primary income, at least I don't think so. I'm fine doing it as a side hustle until it's not, until it turns into something bigger. I'll skip over the other steps in the creative process. A year or two later, and after much research, I began outlining and writing chapter summaries. This is when the project became real. I wrote about 12,000 words and shared it with a few friends for feedback. One friend was a developmental editor, among other talents. Her feedback was very positive and also constructive. It took a little while for us to work out an arrangement, but I became committed to the writing project when I signed a contract with her and a paid retainer. The results and momentum has been as strong as ever since then. Those original chapters were substantially revised and new chapters added before and after. I'm now up to 25 chapters. It's about 250 pages and 77,000 words. I estimate the final novel will be 150,000 words and maybe even slightly more. So that's my journey up to this point. It's just a start. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about the novel.